Welcome. We are live, and this is Who's Your Neighbor? I'm coming to you from Portland, Oregon. I'm Terry McGill. Who's Your Neighbor began probably 6 months ago with a simple awareness when I was reading Facebook posts. So many people experiencing so much trauma. Specifically, this was related to all of the restrictions around COVID-19 and people's experiences with contracting it and living with others and being quarantined. And sometimes they were quarantined with people that nobody should be quarantined with. They had no escape. So I was thinking about this, and it's like, we've got to do something. And then I started thinking about all the people that I've met over the last 25 or 30 years, and not just in Portland, but around the metro area and California and Washington and other places. But we want to focus on the Portland metropolitan area and bring to you an introduction of people who are just doing heart-opening and sometimes stunning service, and we don't know who they are. So tonight, our guest on Who's Your Neighbor is a doula. And if you've never heard of a doula, I had not either about 6 months ago. So please welcome with me, Michaela Lopez.
Hi,
Welcome.
Terry. Hi, thank you for having me.
Oh, it's just so wonderful. And even though the name appears under me, you know which one's Michaela. So let's start off right at the beginning. What the heck is a doula? Did I pronounce it right?
That is correct, Terry. A doula is somebody who supports a mother and a father during birth. So when the mom is delivering a baby, I provide support, emotional support, physical support, mental support, and spiritual support to bring in, to alleviate the pain, to connect with the pain and give love to this mama during this sacred time, during this whole process of birthing. So I bring in the father. The father too is also birthing. He's becoming a father. So I bring in the father during this whole birthing process. Mhm.
Wow. So that's a heck of a job.
I love the job. When I first went into it, I thought, oh my gosh, blood, body parts, I don't know. But as soon as I went into my first birth experience that I had with a client, it felt just right to me. It just felt like, okay, this is what I want. This is what I want to continue pursuing, because I was an education teacher. I was a teacher working with special needs kids in elementary schools. And that was no longer my calling. I had, as soon as I was revealed this beautiful task, this job, I was like, this is it. As a doula, this is what I want to continue. So I started continuing. I looked into schooling, I looked into organizations in my area, and everything just fell into my lap. All the organizations, all these babies and mothers were just coming to me. It's like, okay, this is it. It was just a big, beautiful sign that this is where I needed to be. So babies are coming.
What a great story. Wow. So when you say emotional, physical, mental, spiritual support, what do you do physically? With
So
COVID restrictions, got to wear masks and gloves anymore, right?
right. So before COVID, it was all hands on. It was about massaging the pelvis of the mother, giving that gentle touch or acupressure points, and just giving them that love and tender. And now what I normally do, it's done sometimes via Zoom, having the father be involved in this whole process. The father becomes the doula, and the father loves this aspect, because sometimes they feel that they want to be involved. They want to be part of the whole birth process, but sometimes they're standing there. I want to help you. I want to alleviate your pain. But so now I guide the father This is what you do. You squeeze the hips, you give her love, you tell her you love her. She's this warrior, she's this mighty, this goddess that you need to hold and love tenderly. So all of the work now is done usually via Zoom, and those parents who are comfortable, I see them. But if they're not, everything's done via Zoom. I teach them techniques on how to help cope with the pain.
That's even better than you being there in person, because I remember when I was a father, or about to become one, and then became, like, I didn't know what I was doing. I had no clue. And we went to was it Lamaze breathing? Anyway, we went to a class, and I learned how to do Kugel breathing. Is that the name? Kegel? Kugel?
Kegel.
Yeah, it's been 28 years. So I'm just feeling into how it would have been if there had been a doula involved, and I could have, instead of your hands, my hands. Boy, what a difference that would make. That's just multiplying so many bonuses for the relationship.
Absolutely. And that's, what I love about my work is getting the family, getting the mother, getting the husband, the partners into building that relationship too. It takes a whole village to really raise a child. If you can get the father involved, the mothers, the mother-in-laws, the parents, the whole tribe, this child gets so much love and nurturing. And, I love bridging that gap, that relationship, that harmony between the mother, because during this time, the mother is, when she's giving birth, she's going through some physical changes too. Not only is she, bringing this beautiful child, but she's also becoming a mother. Maybe not the first time, maybe the second time, maybe the 10th time. It's a whole new process. And so we have to treat the mother with love, with care. And I love bringing the father. I love bringing the mother-in-laws, the sisters, the aunties involved in this whole ceremony of birth. Relationship is key, and that connection and that harmony between the family. I feel that the baby can grow beautifully.
Well, I'm 100% behind this, 110%, except there's no such thing. And so we've got a question from one of our viewers in New York. Hello, Jean. Yes, we are live. And we look familiar. Seen us on other webcasts. And we have Vanita from India. And welcome, both of you. And Michaela, just so you will know, what I see is there may be only 2 to 5, sometimes 7 people online at the time that we're live. It really amazes me. I look like 10 days in the future, and there's been 130 or 150 visits. It's like, wow.
Great.
So if you haven't invited your tribe yet to come and check you out on Facebook, please do so. And give them the link later in an email and just say, you might be interested in this. I think this would be a wonderful introduction to people like me who had no clue of what an incredible difference your services can make. And really, candidly, I really believe that doing it by webcast, by Zoom or whatever, I think there's more benefit that way. The father gets involved if they choose to. And like I said, for me, I had no clue, would have loved it. Wow.
Absolutely. A lot of the fathers, they're very grateful after I connect with them and I give them that opportunity to serve their beautiful partners. And, they love that connection. They really want to help. But sometimes they just don't know. They're just standing on the corner, standing on the side. I wish I could help my wife. I wish I could help my partner.
Yeah.
But you don't know how.
I was really fortunate. When our son was born, I was able to be in the room. But I don't know if that's allowed now.
Usually now in the hospitals, it's usually one partner now. You know, it's you and your the mother and the partner. But now it's very with the whole situation with COVID. You know, hardly any doulas can come in. We cannot have multiple nurses. It's just very limited.
Yeah. So that points out the benefit of home births. Yeah.
Yeah.
So have you participated in home births?
I have not, but I have a dear friend who's given me the opportunity to train under her, and I look forward to that. But right now, everything's done via Zoom or sometimes in the hospital. Sometimes I'll get calls. You know, I have to go through a whole process. Could you please come? You know, this mother needs assistance. We need your help to help her come, so that way, you know, the baby can come easily and effortlessly.
Right.
Yeah.
It's so important. And I'm getting all this opening up for me. It's like, wow, yeah, you go into a hospital, it's like, who are these people behind masks and gowns? But if you're there, um, and they've had a prior experience with you, then you've already developed that caring, supportive relationship. I can see why you'd be called. Yeah.
Yeah. Is that human connection too, you know, when the mother is there with another person, you know, just like her, or you know, because see, there's doctors, and sometimes it can be intimidating. Sometimes a lot of the mothers, they just go in. Sometimes they need an advocate. Sometimes they don't know their rights, or what can they do, what they can't do. You know, with the whole procedures of, you know, especially first time moms, they don't know what to do. And so when I come in, you know, I teach them beforehand. I do what's called prenatals. I have 2 prenatal visits with them where I can connect with them, speak with them heart to heart, and they just share what their birth plan is. And then when it's time of the day of the birth, you know, like, okay, breathe in, remember the techniques that we did together, use those. And then, you know, if anything, you know, call me and I'll be there. And then sometimes they do give me permission to go to the hospital so I can help and support these beautiful mothers. Yeah.
Wow. Now, you also are a relationship coach.
Yes, I am, Terry.
That kind of goes together.
It really does. It truly, really does. It has started. You know, I was having some relationship issues with my husband. You know, there was a disconnection, there was this harmony between us, and I didn't know how to get out of it until I apply these beautiful techniques and this healing that I started doing on, you know, healing my relationship with my husband. And after that, it's like, oh, as you know, it took me a while. It took me about, you know, 3 to 4 years to get past this big bump that we had. You know, everything, you know, in the beginning it was the honeymoon phase, and we loved each other, but we were falling out of love. And then I started applying these beautiful techniques. One of them is the power of forgiveness. So I started meditating more, and I started connecting with this beautiful technique of forgiving the other person, because you know I deserve the forgiveness, not because the other person deserves it, but because I deserve that inner peace and that inner joy within me. So I started applying and healing myself, doing that internal work, and then I found my power. I found that my strength within me, and now I've changed so much, and my relationship with my husband now has changed so much. Now there's more connection, there's more harmony, and I want to empower men and women that, you know, they can come out of these struggles. They can, you know, fall in love with themselves again, fall in love with each other, loving each other, having appreciation and honoring each other. And and I take this work wherever I go, you know, whether it's, you know, with my clients who, you know, all types of people who need healing in their relationships. And especially I work in the with mothers, and you know, in the birthing scene, you know, because all these mothers, you know, at the end, like, you know, postpartum, they, you know, they have, you know, the blues, or they don't feel good about themselves, their body has transformed. So I help them find that love for themselves, that self-love, that self acceptance for who they are, what they've been through. And so they give these messages, these very negative messages to themselves. Oh, I don't look good enough. What if my husband, cheats on me? What if my husband doesn't like me anymore? My body looks different. So I help these mothers to connect with themselves and love themselves and accept themselves, so that way, they don't feel, that lack of self-worth or that value within themselves. So I apply this beautiful practice of forgiveness with all of my clients, because that's one of the fastest way to transform our relationship with ourselves and relationship with others around us. It begins with ourselves. First thing, we look into ourselves. Where is all of this stuff coming from? Whether it's anger, whether it's fears, sadness, or these negative emotions, where is it coming from? I help a lot of women and men to look internally, to look within themselves. And then once they feel much more grounded and more connected to their heart, then I take them into this beautiful practice of forgiveness and gratitude with their loved ones. Yeah.
So we have some banners that we have made up of how people can connect with you. And if our producer will bring them up on the screen, you can, for example, this is your email address. And
Correct.
I noticed that there's Soul Light together and then dot doula. So what's the significance of Soul Light?
Well, oftentimes we're in we're in a whole different, I feel like a new age. Our souls, we are so connected with our souls. If we can connect back to our souls, our essence, the light within ourselves. And I want to bring that to people, to all the people, my clients, to everyone that I encounter with, to connect with their essence, with their purity, with their hearts, and the light within them. So I use
So the light of our soul.
right.
Got it. Great. And then here's a phone number for you. There's do you have a website? I was thinking you might. I'm trying to remember.
No, I don't have a website yet.
Not yet. So they can email you or phone you. Actually, I always suggest that people text first, depending if they don't know what time zone you're in. So you're in the Pacific time zone, United States?
Yes. Mm-hmm. I am.
I'm just processing. Part of me is thinking, geez, this would have been so cool if you'd have been around 28 years ago, but you might have only been 15 years old then.
I wish I had a doula too. I didn't have a doula at my birth with my daughter. I have a 9-year-old daughter who's about to turn 10 on February 1st. She's always telling me, "Mama, 5 more days, 6 more days." The count has started. So with my daughter, I had a very difficult birth. It was 16 hours of intense labor.
How long?
16 hours.
Wow.
16 hours, and I just recently moved out to Oregon, not to maybe 2-3 months before I gave birth to my daughter. I had no one. I didn't have my mother and my father. I had no family members who came to support me.
Wow.
And then just going, as soon as the labor started coming, I was like, oh my gosh, I have no one. So a lot of these fear came up from me. It's like I didn't know what to do, and I wish I had known what I know now. A doula. I was like, oh my gosh, those things exist. I didn't know I can get a physical support or emotional support. So now, because I had that experience, now I really want to help mothers. I want to educate a lot of women about, doulas, how you can have a doula to help alleviate some of that, the stress, help you move through the fears and connect with your body. So I wish I had a doula, but it's okay. Maybe when I have my second child, if I decide to have another one, I know what to do. I'll look for a doula.
So how can because having a doula, that's not mainstream knowledge in the West. How can that get put out more?
Right now, there's many organizations here, especially in Gresham. We have an organization right now that is spreading to a lot of our Spanish-speaking communities, especially the Spanish-speaking communities. We don't use the word doula. So what we've been doing, these programs are getting funded by the government, and they're receiving these funds. So this organization goes out to local WIC organizations, or where women receive a lot of support, governmental support. So what they're doing is they're advertising, hey, here's a doula. A lot of these doula organizations are going into hospitals, are going into these clinics, and say, there's this support that you can get, and right now it's a lot of word of mouth. It's just sharing what a doula is, just sharing in conferences, sharing our experiences, and then also our, hopefully soon I'll get my website up, and so I can start sharing and spreading that with everybody about the services of the doula. I really want to educate people about a doula, and not only there's also growing up in the Spanish family, a lot of our doulas are our mothers, our aunties, our grandmothers, there to support us. And it's a normal thing, but we didn't have a label for it until it's like, oh, we have those back in Guatemala, my country, but here it's like it's so new, and I didn't have my family here either, so I didn't know much about it. If I had my mom,
Right.
she lived here, she would have had hands-on but yeah, we're
Wow.
hopefully it will continue to spread. Yeah.
So what about funding? Is a doula, a companion, covered under any of the HMOs or anything?
Currently, not so much, but some insurance do cover if it's because doulas do get hired in certain hospitals. But if you're a private doula, you have to there. We don't. Some don't take insurance, and some do take insurance, depending on how you word it. But currently, if you work in the hospital, your your boss is these hospitals administrative say they'll pay you. But if you're your own, if you're your own local business, or your own business, you own your own business, then yeah,
Right.
you have to ask.
Right. So that's a consideration for people. I think the most important thing, though, is I just ask all of our viewers, coming from my own heart, tell people about this service. This is like, wow, I wish it had been around when I was born. And actually, when I was born, my mother came out on the train to California from Missouri to be with my mom. My grandmother did, and stayed for like 3 months. So my
Oh, that's cute.
grandpa was on the farm by himself.
But 3 months, that's amazing. I mean, if you can give so much time to that precious being, that mother and the baby, it's both. They're both
Yeah,
baby, attention to the baby, and also attention to the mother, who's just went through a whole transformation.
baby's getting a lot more holding,
Yeah,
and mama gets a break,
yeah, absolutely.
because I do remember that one. There's a term for that, isn't it? Like new child overload. When I
I'm
can't
not
remember
familiar with that.
I can't remember it either, but it was like a clinical term. It's mama got burned out, um,
And
and
that's
it's a real thing.
yeah, it's absolutely real. That's
Because
why, and there's different types of doulas too. There's the birth doula and the postpartum doula. I'm a birth doula where I, help with the whole birthing process, and then those who train, because you do get trained as a certain type of doula. If you want to do all of them, all spectrums, you can. And postpartum are those that like mothers who get burned out. They're available to come overnight and take care of the babies, feed the babies
Wow.
while the mother sleeps. Yeah, clean the house, cook, like clean. Yeah.
Wow. What a wonderful service. Jeez.
Yes.
So you said something before the show started that you do something,
Oh
you
yes.
have an option that you, when you're working with people?
Yes. So I want to share a little bit about Tao Healing Hands as part of the healing process. You know, it's we look internal, we look deep within and see where a lot of these emotions are coming up, a lot of the challenges within ourselves. But sometimes it can be a little too hard. So what I do is I have received these healing transmissions of love and light of high frequencies that come, and it's using these beautiful this healing modality, Tao Healing Hands, and I use that to help people have breakthroughs with their relationships. I use that for myself. I saw the big difference that it made in my life. I did all of the process of forgiving, of gratitude, but there were points where I wasn't moving along. So when I started applying these Tao Healing Hands, this healing modality, I was able to move through them much faster, and which brought me much more a peace in my relationship, more harmony in my relationship. So I use these beautiful healing hands to help a lot of my clients process through their relationship issues. So I use it, and I see a big difference, and they tell me they see a difference in their relationship, especially with themselves. That self-love, we begin with self-love, and then we move out gradually into the relationships with others. So this tool really works for me. It works for my clients, and I'll continue to using them. It's a beautiful gift, truly. Thank you, Terry.
Super. Well, we've come to the end of our time. I want to thank you so much for sharing with us. I won't be the only one that was educated tonight, or at least the beginning of the education. A doula. Wow. Thank you so much, Michaela.
Thank you, Terry.
So one of the things that Michaela mentioned right there at the end was Tao Healing Hands. And if you're not familiar with it, it's an energetic transmission. Technically, it's a light transmission, which is, a really high frequency of energy. And they give people the ability to me, it's like doing magic. Transform not just relationships, but finances. I heard somebody saying, let's see, what was it? Her washing machine had quit. No, her washing, yeah, it was a washing machine. Washing machine wouldn't start. She didn't have the money to buy another one. So she just started giving a blessing. Can you imagine? You're giving a blessing to a washing machine, but it worked. And another friend of mine down in California, her car was giving up the ghost. It was an old Volvo, and she was 8 miles from home. And so she just started giving Tao healing, Tao hand, Tao healing, Tao healing, Tao healing. And evidently I know you use your hand sometimes. And it's just a way of staying connected with the energy. Her car made it all the way to next door to her house. Well, it was a tough 8 miles. You're driving one-handed and bless you, bless you, bless you all the way on the other one. So if you're not familiar with this, or if you'd like to take a look at the new arrangement of how the Tao Healing Hands training is done, it's in 3 different parts. And our producer is going to put the link over in the chat room. It's called I can't remember. Yeah, the 5 levels of creation. Now that may be an intriguing concept to you. It was when I first saw it too, but I know what it means now, and it totally fits. And so I invite you to check out that website, see what the new training is like. One of the biggest benefits is, this used to be, well, actually, it used to be a $1,325 training when I first received mine. And then it was changed and repackaged to $595. But now you can get started for like $150 US and become a self-healer literally overnight. Now you got to practice. You got to, you've got to learn what to do and when and how to check and see if it's appropriate. But you can learn how to heal yourself. Start with a one-day training for $150. It just amazes me because it opens the door to so many others who have so many health challenges. So you can heal your physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual body. Well, actually, you don't do it. The whatever this is, God, divine, Tao, source, creator, there's so many different words because, we really don't know what it is. We just put a name on it. But it's just like electricity. I don't know what electricity really is, but when I flip a switch, the lights come on. I've got light going right here. I had to turn a switch. I had to turn it twice to get to this level. This is 3 bulbs instead of 1 or 5. So with Tao healing hands, you learn how to turn the switch and bring to yourself, I think that's a better way to say it, bring to yourself a blessing that's an energy transmission that's far above. Well, I don't know anything else that has more power than that unless you go up in power, because there's different levels of the Tao healing hands. Anyway, take a look at it. The link is there in the chat room. And we're going to be back here again next week with another guest on Who's Your Neighbor. And until then, drive slowly, wear your mask,